Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Double Donations with Recurring Gifts. I am going to be your host today. My name is Chris Bechtel. I'm with Mobile Cause, and I want to thank you all for joining us today. We've got a fantastic lineup of speakers and content for all of you. A couple of housekeeping notes for everyone that is joining. We will be sending out a copy of the slides presentation along with a link to view and watch, listen, and share to the recorded version of this webinar. If you do have any questions, we are going to have 10 minutes at the end of the webinar for Q&A. In the meantime, as you are listening and interacting, feel free to type anything that you may want to ask into the chat on the left-hand side of the webinar platform. Also, if you do have any audio issues and you've dialed in just by computer, you may want to choose to switch to phone, as sometimes the internet gives you a little bit of a choppy audio and you might have a better experience on your telephone. So please feel free to go ahead and do that. Again, without further ado, I'm going to dive right into the agenda. We've got a lot of great content for you all today. We're going to be talking about the importance of recurring gifts and how to overcome 4 key challenges with Mobile Cause's Jeremy Koenig. We've got 3 great organizations. We're going to talk through their personal experiences, their proven strategies. We have Operation Finally Home. We have the MPTF, which is the Motion Picture Television Fund, and we have Big Fluffy Dog. So we've got some great fundraising experts, and we'll have a roundtable discussion with all of those so that you can ask specific questions, get their insight, get their experience. We're super excited to have you all with us today. Here's our fantastic speaker lineup. I will introduce each of them individually as we move into their session. But we're super excited to have all of them. We're grateful for them taking time out of their busy day to share with all of you. And so first up, I'm going to dive right into it and introduce my colleague, Jeremy Koenig, who's going to talk to you about proven strategies for recurring gifts and overcoming 4 key challenges. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, Chris, and welcome everyone. We're so excited for you to be on this webinar. I, believe it or not, I've worked at Mobile Cause for the last 6 years. I am the creative director here, and I am one of the main product architects of the way that all of our solutions continue to evolve with the mobile and online landscape. But believe it or not, before I worked at Mobile Cause, I was a professional fundraiser, and one of the things that I absolutely understood in my core is that recurring donations are the lifeblood of all the great good that we do around the world. They are what keep our most important people in the field, and they keep our lights on, and they keep everything that we do alive and running from year to year, growing and continuing to transform hearts and minds. I'm just going to jump right into it. One important statistic that is in our title that I want to explain is we looked at all of the Mobile Cause donations that have come in the last year. And we found that donors that click monthly, quarterly, or annually on a donation form, on average, give twice as much as those who just make other types of gifts. And so you can actually compare this to the latest 2015 Evinar benchmark study. As you can see here, online recurring donations grew 32% last year, while just only 9% for one-time gifts. The average one-time giver across all segments was $84, and the average monthly gift was $22, resulting in an annual gift of $264. So the global data is even more pointing towards it is the importance of every single nonprofit organization having a very clear and strategic goal to get more and more recurring donors. It should be one of your key benchmarks. So now I want to jump into what we see as the 4 key challenges facing nonprofits when it comes to recurring donations. This has continued to evolve as mobile and online have become more and more in the forefront of all of our lives and our donors' lives. But now more so than ever, it is important for us to ask people to give every month. Just kind of very quickly, here are the 3 essentials that I see in this challenge. provide very clear-cut instructions of how people can set up recurring gifts and what those recurring gifts are going to do. It is incredibly important that all your donation forms across all devices have very simple recurring gift options. Challenge 2, acquiring new donors and converting existing support. My recommendation would be for you to literally whiteboard with your board or your leadership team a strategy with goals to acquire a certain amount of new donors using small recurring gift price points, as well as convert existing donors who have been giving your organization for a long time into monthly supporters. It is so incredibly important that you create a unique branded experience that people are excited to be a part of when they give to you every month. These people are the heartbeat of your organization. Okay, recurring giving needs to be exciting. This photo is a little cheesy, but I actually donate to lots of nonprofits and I follow lots of organizations. And when nonprofits send me things that are exciting, it just makes me want to keep giving, and it makes me feel so excited about the good that the donations that I am giving are accomplishing. I want to make a point to talk about the different demographics. Baby boomers, Gen Xers, and millennials, they all have preferences of the way that they like to be communicated with by nonprofits, specifically email, a combination of email, social media, and text messaging. And so it's just very important that whatever compelling stories that you tell about where recurring donations are going and the good they're accomplishing and how you're reaching all your goals and accomplishing your mission, it's very, very important that you cross-promote all of those stories across those 3 channels. And I would add to that, specifically recognize those who are in your recurring gift club or your recurring gift team, or however you decide to brand that specific type of important donor. Challenge 4, ensure donor confidence. We have seen here at MobileCause in the last year that this is more important than ever before. It is one of the major differentiators between MobileCause and our competitors, specifically PayPal, Network for Good, Stay Classy. When somebody makes a donation to your cause, it is so important that they know exactly what they're giving to, how much of that is being charged as a fee, and then when their bank statement or their credit card statement is billed each month, that your organization's name appears on that credit card statement. We've actually found here that customers that have their nonprofit name on the credit card statement see far, far, far less chargebacks on donations and canceled donations. So again, your receipts, your on-screen confirmations, the PDF receipts that you send, your credit card statements, all of these need to be branded and titled your organization. And then I would add a little caveat to that. It's also very important that donors can then easily click a button and follow you on your social media feeds, specifically Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest, because as you all know, this is the living, breathing journal of all the good that you're doing. So if I make a donation to a particular cause or a particular mission or project, I know as a donor that I can just go look on your Facebook page and I'm going to see all the good that donation is accomplishing. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Chris to introduce our next speaker.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeremy. And again, just a quick reminder to anyone that may be having any challenges, hearing with audio, I'd recommend switching to phone, and you can do that by choosing the More option on the top right of the toolbar in the webinar platform. And then at the bottom of that menu, it says Switch to Phone. Also, one of my colleagues just posted the phone number for dialing in. So if you do have any issues, feel free to dial in there. If you have challenges seeing slides, you may want to just re-log into the webinar platform itself. Again, we will be sending out a link to view the recorded version. So if you do miss anything, you can, rewind and go back and watch anything. So now, without further ado, I would love to introduce our next speaker. That's Lisa Bergen-Wilson, who's the VP of Advancement and Donor Relations at Operation Finally Home. And already Lisa's been terrific about answering a couple of questions in chat. And again, everyone keep typing your questions in right there. We will get to as many of them as we can. But Lisa, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, and welcome everybody. I'm coming in from Nashville, Tennessee, from Music City, so I'm happy to speak to all of you, and thank you so much to Mobile Cause for offering this opportunity. Do you want me to go ahead and talk just real briefly about Operation Finally Home, Chris?
Yeah, if you could, tell us a little bit about, the organization, your mission, and
Gotcha.
introduction a little bit to sort of your current recurring giving strategy.
Excellent. So Operation Finally Home is very simple. We're a national nonprofit, 10 years old, that is based out of Texas, and we do one thing, and that is to build mortgage-free homes for wounded, ill, and injured veterans all across the country. What a worthy goal. Obviously, everyone loves our veterans. There's a lot of good energy around helping them, and so we work with builders across the country to get them to donate their time and materials. And for an average $275,000 home, we can build a house for $75,000 on average across the country. So our efforts to attract recurring donors are extremely important because when we build homes, it's usually in a regional type situation, and people tend not to see what goes on across the country. They see what's in their backyard and their neighborhood. So what we're trying to do through our hero partners, which is what we call our recurring donor group, is to allow people to see that their gift is going straight to the construction of a home, and that recurring gifts of the same kind will go to homes just like that one in their backyard, but all across the country. So we started our program last August. It's very, very new. We launched working with Mobile Cause April of 2014. So we have almost 2 years under our belt, and that has been critical to our success. But we launched it with the intent of finding donors who would give either monthly, quarterly, or annually to reduce the delay that might come with writing a check or answering the mail. We want people to have a seamless experience, and we found that to be the case for Mobile Cause. So they can give. We have about 100 current recurring donors now in less than a year, and that total giving is around $400,000. Now, one of those is a very large gift that skews the average gift, but we're very fortunate to have a couple that wants to fund one of those gaps every quarter of the year. So, in essence, though, 100 people donating a total of $400,000. Our goal is to get to $500,000 by December of this year. And so we have utilized Mobile Cause across the online giving form, the text to give at our events, very limited at our events, and then through our newsletter and the thank you letters and receipts that I send personally. Now, I will interject that I'm probably very much like many of you. I'm almost a one-person shop. There are only 12 employees with Operation Finally Home. We all work from home. Our costs, our operating costs are low, and so I'm responsible for the thank you letters, our donor database. Every bit of it is just coming through my efforts. But the thing that I do focus on is when that first gift is made, I go toward that person and try to get them to sign on quickly, because statistics show us that after that first gift is the most likely time that someone would become a recurring donor. So I'll take a breath there and see, Chris, where you want me to go next.
Well, this sounds fantastic. And again, we got some great questions, everyone, and we'll get to as many of them as we can, both here in this conversation right now and as well as sort of our roundtable discussion at the end of the webinar. But I think my first question for you is, what experiences, and branding have been kind of most successful in recruiting and maintaining the recurring donors in the program?
So I've lost my video connection, so I'm not sure what is on the screen. But we branded our monthly giving program as Hero Partners, mainly because we refer to our wounded, ill, and injured veterans as heroes. Most Americans believe that anyone who's willing to put on the uniform and represent our country are heroes. those who come alongside and support them, we were talking about them being partners. So it just made great sense to call this Hero Partners, and that has resonated with folks. So the brand is done well. We have a mailing that we sent out twice this first year where we targeted people who made a gift between $10 and $99.99. And we specifically asked for a very specific gift. So the mailing was targeted, the individual was targeted, and we have a vendor who was able to provide these resources for us. So that is the one part where I couldn't do all that myself, but we have an agency that helped us. And so we mailed that out twice. We got most of our donors that way, and most of them went online through MobileCause to sign up, just like we wanted. Then we also are using, in our marketing efforts, I've just begun to use MobileCause's monthly text messaging to send out a quick, short, less than 2-minute video to all of our donors to say, here's exactly how your money's being used. Because I have 3 best practices that I put in place, and I learned this from Penelope Burke years ago in her book, Donor-Centered Fundraising. Number 1 is I try to respond to all gifts within 24 to 48 hours, and it all is on my shoulders. The gifts come through to me on our database and through MobileCause, and I thank them within that time frame. The second thing is of donations that are $250 or more, and this is really important, and this will really make you stand out with your donors. I have board members who have volunteered to make a phone call or write a thank you letter, and I cannot tell you how important this is. They were reticent to do this at the beginning, but now they love it, and my goal was to not only get them to say thank you, but obviously I want them to get comfortable talking to our donors. So my hope is through this process, they not only are saying thank you, but then the next time I need them to go on an appointment with me or they need to call on a donor with me, they won't have any hesitation. They'll become very, very comfortable. I want them to have the same passion that the donors do, and that's happening. And then the third principle is I never ask for another gift from someone until we've told them how we use their first gift. So very intentionally through our thank you letters and all of our newsletter communications, we're showing people, here's where your money is going. Here are the last 3 veterans to receive a home. Here's one in your neighborhood. And that is extremely beneficial using MobileCause's platform with the text messaging.
This is fantastic. And, we've got a lot of great questions coming in. And I think it can't be underscored enough. I mean, I guess, what have you found as sort of your secret sauce to really, engaging people to continue to give and to continue to stay, as a recurring donor?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's mainly the telling the story of the veteran. So any of you with your nonprofit, it's finding what that heartbeat is and what donors respond to. I've educated or tried to educate my board and the other staff that I'm with to say, Operation Finally Home is not about us as the employees and the organization. We are about connecting the donor with the recipient. So if you can kind of build a bridge that goes from the donor straight over to your veterans, your dog lovers, your motion and picture television patrons, that's what you want to do, because when I give, I'm not giving to a nonprofit. I'm giving to the beneficiary of that nonprofit. That's the most important thing that I think has created the link with us to keep our donors engaged with our veterans.
Fantastic. And so, what's next? What do you think? What's on your radar for this year, and on how to do more with what you've already been doing?
What next is the getting folks to give again or to renew, and to renew at a slightly higher level. So when I'm planning for this fall, what I'm going to do is look at the total giving of my Hero Partners, and I'm going to increase that 2 or 3%. And I'm going to go back and individually, very specialized, ask each one for an increase in their gift to help us with an increase in the number of houses for next year. So 22 last year, 30 this year. And I think it's a pretty, if we've done our job well, if our board members have been thanking well, if I've been sending timely thank yous, then I think asking someone to make a very small increase is obviously going to be a much better sell than me going out and trying to find brand new donors. So this is these recurring donors are my core pipeline, and they are ones that some will become major donors, some will become planned giving, making a bequest to us. But this is the meat. This is where we build that loyalty and that commitment to our veterans. So we'll be doing that in the fall, as well as, sending other newsletters and appeals out to donors. What I do when someone makes a first gift every single time is put a slip in there with an envelope saying, hey, thank you so much for what you've done, and if you'd like to make an even bigger impact, here's a way to give on a recurring basis. For my email thank yous, it has a link in there saying the same thing and asking people to visit that link to find out how to become a recurring hero partner.
Fantastic. And now, with respect to, working with MobileCause, how much time, did it take to kind of, set all of this up and continue to use it?
Well, I tell you, the most time was, to be honest with you, in convincing leadership. So I want to urge everyone to just get the session planned with MobileCause, utilize their expertise, take careful notes, understand it completely yourself, how all the steps work, what you need to do, what kind of collateral you need to be posting online, get all that straight, and then get your executive director or your board chairman, whoever you need on a development committee, get them to sit in on a planning session with you. And know that it just takes, for different personalities, it just takes a little bit of different time for somebody to become comfortable with what you're proposing. But when you show them the statistics and show them the results, I think that makes it move along all the faster. The thing I'm most excited about that's being introduced for MobileCause is the video opportunity on the giving page. I'm really excited to see that, Chris, and I can't wait to implement that for us.
Wonderful. And, final point, when we spoke last week, you had mentioned, the kind of experience you'd had, working with our customer success team and some of the resources that you'd recommend that everyone take advantage of. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I absolutely could not have done any of this without the regular planning sessions. Corey Blake is fabulous. He's the one that I've worked with the most, but anybody else I've talked to, and I was fortunate enough to visit LA and go to MobileCause, and I encourage you guys to do that too. It was fun to go there and see them and meet them face to face. But the ability to understand how to do the keywords, how to run your reports, how to segment the data, how to start setting up, Paul, who helped us get our account at the very beginning, he's the one that mentioned to me, hey, did you know you could do video links in your text messaging? And I did not know that. So thanks to Paul. But I say take advantage of every training opportunity and all the resources. Our contract includes numerous planning sessions, and those have just been lifelines for us. I mean, especially when you're a small shop. So I can't thank you all enough. And then just, as I said earlier, just take it slowly, because sometimes others that are part of our nonprofit are passionate too, but they've just got to be tutored along enough to understand where you're taking them.
Great. We might have lost Chris there for a second. I'm going to go ahead and take over as MC, and let's transition over to Miko. And Miko, tell us, and Doreen, tell us a little bit about Motion Picture and Television Fund.
Yeah, thanks. So we may be a slightly unusual organization in regard to recurring gifts. We are a 95-year-old organization this year, as you can tell from our logo, but our history of recurring gifts dates back to 1932. So for 84 years, members of the entertainment industry have been giving to this organization to support their fellow members. So we are in what we understand is an enviable position compared to a lot of organizations. In 2014, we received 56,360 recurring gifts from 10,774 donors. And so that gave us a reliable income stream of almost $430,000 in recurring gifts alone. Now, what's different about our stream and why Mobile Cause was so exciting to us is that if you do the math on that, our average recurring gift is only $7.63, which is a far cry from that $22 figure you heard at the beginning of the webinar. And so our recurring donors are giving us about $40 a year. And this is mostly an older donor base compared to a lot of people who tend to be recurring giving donors, like I am myself, for a number of nonprofits I support. And so the attraction to Mobile Cause was in part to help us do an easier way to do recurring gifts using credit cards, using, phone-friendly donation forms, and attract a demographic that we have not been as successful as getting into our recurring gift stream as our older demographic has been from the long history in the industry. There are a lot of operational efficiencies that we are finding with Mobile Cause. We are still, frankly, slowly transitioning after about a year to try to move our donor base from, monthly gifts, which is how a lot of these are coming in. They are, pennies a month, under $1 a month, sometimes quarterly basis. Some of these gifts we do get a weekly basis, but we're trying to get people standardized and using their credit cards to make it easier for us than chasing down each one of these different streams and how it's coming to us. So one of the issues which Doreen will be able to touch on is how we've gone about transitioning people off recurring gift mechanisms that were not technologically friendly, that were not efficient, that did not have as positive an ROI, like we have monthly mail recurring givers, and how to get them and how we transition them into Mobile Cause using credit cards, which obviously has had a great benefit for us. So Jeremy, is that where you want us to head now?
Yeah, Miko, thank you so much. This is Chris, by the way.
Oh, hey, Chris.
I was muted myself, and I said something brilliant. I had a brilliant introduction for you, and no one heard it. So, but that's the way it goes, right? In any case, yeah, I think it would be great to, for probably a lot of those that are listening, they don't have experience with Mobile Cause and maybe, had a similar goal, and maybe so what we could do here is quickly restate sort of your goals, right? And then maybe Doreen could then tell us, how the process went.
Sure. So our top line goal was to move more of our donors into the credit card recurring gift versus the other mechanisms we're getting the recurring gift through, direct deposits from banks. A lot of ours come through payroll companies, like from a movie studio, like a 20th Century Fox, or different production companies in town, and also to increase revenue and try to start moving up that $7.63 average gift closer to the aforementioned $22 national average, which is our dream. And then I'll give it to you, Doreen, to talk about how we transitioned some of our old-time donors into the Mobile Cause platform.
Sure. We had a lot of avenues that donations were coming to us, which meant as a staff we had to report on that and reconcile the monies. It was more processes than we wanted to do. So Mobile Cause being the most cost-efficient and efficient way in reporting, if we could get people into that stream, that would be much more beneficial to us. So we customized the letters. Miko customized the letters to the various donors and their intervals and the amounts of donations that they'd given. We had a lot of specific customizing of the letters to reach out to the donors, and then we wanted to give them avenues to respond with which they were most comfortable. And as other folks have said, you want to know exactly what you can offer them, the avenues that you can offer them, and explain it as easily as you can. With going online, if if they were to go online themselves, we wanted to give them specific step-by-step instructions so that they wouldn't be intimidated. We also created a form that if they wanted to fill out their credit card information and send that in to us, then we would do it for them. We also gave them the option to just contact me directly, and I would go online and create their recurring donation for them. And then lastly, gift envelopes if they completely wanted to stay away from the credit cards, which is not our preference, but you want to make sure you don't lose anybody in the transition as they get more comfortable. So that was how we rolled it out, with particular focused asks, explaining the process thoroughly, and then giving them several avenues to respond in whichever way they were most comfortable. And it's been pretty successful.
And how much time did it take for you? I mean, was it something that, in terms of like how to set it all these things up and deal with the new technology? I mean, what was your overall sort of experience in terms of how much time it took you to deal with?
I'd say probably a couple of 6 or 8 weeks to really roll it out. And we were just signing up with Mobile Cause, so we were establishing our merchant accounts and all of that was all part of the process. And it was right around the holidays when we were doing it, and then dividing up the different avenues of how we were going to approach each segment of the donors and what were the options we were most comfortable with giving them for responding. So I'd say 6 or 8 weeks, pretty much.
Fantastic. And now maybe this is a question for Miko, and I'm not sure, I know he had to be in transit.
No, I'm here.
Oh, wonderful. And so, I guess the question for you is like sort of what's next? Now that you've kind of done this initial rollout and this transition, where do you see things going for the remainder of the year and beyond?
Yeah, so we have not yet done a very specific campaign to our large direct mail donor base saying, hey, do recurring gifts versus your one-off gift. So the next thing is definitely to do that strategically, which will probably roll out in about the fourth quarter this year. We also are, for the first time since we've been with Mobile Cause, interjecting, a very specific fundraising appeal into an event in April. Right, for that focus is going to be on one-time giving, but we're going to see how we're able to do even one-time giving in the moment, make the thermometer move in April, and then look at that and say, okay, what did we learn, and is there a way to do the same sort of thing at an event where we have the momentum, where we have for us, a great host able to energize an audience, and see if we can encourage recurring gifts in that same sort of methodology. So we're looking at playing with that and seeing how it goes. My dream is really to make this as easy as possible on my team, which is getting everybody on Mobile Cause, making it easier when those credit card numbers change and everything, that a lot of that work is kind of being done for us. And the next thing that I would like to play with is right now we are physically sending out mailed receipts to all of our 10,774 donors for each of their 56,000 plus gifts, which is nice on one hand, is it allows myself or our foundation CEO, who's the other person to sign notes, to personally sign those notes and thank people for their ongoing gift. But I'd like to start playing more with some of the automatic receipts and seeing how we can customize them and see if perhaps some of our donors, we can move to that and reduce the number of trees we kill, mailing out, a confirmation on your 18-cent gift that came in on a weekly basis.
And that's, I think, a great transition into sort of like, what are your sort of big takeaways? Like after going through this initially, and transitioning, an older donor base and all of what you've learned so far, what are your top recommendations that you might want to share with everybody that's listening today?
So I think one of the big keys in transitioning people was we did not make it an amorphous call MPTF and we'll help you do this, but we actually designated Doreen and our team to be the point person for donors who were having questions or problems on moving to a recurring gift. So for those people, it was call Doreen. And again, acknowledging that we had largely an older donor base that was still uncomfortable with technology, we heard from people that they appreciated being to speak to Doreen specifically. They had her direct dial phone number versus an 800 number. and she was able to take the time, which obviously took her away from doing other things, but to help people transition to that platform. So that was part of our investment in doing this. The other thing is the ability to customize the forms, and I see up on the screen there, you threw up 2 of ours that are kind of for specific uses, versus the providers we had been using before for our gifts. We were able to create a better experience on our giving forms by being able to customize them, which I think also made people feel more comfortable about how their gift was going in. Like very specifically for the tribute gift you threw up, when people are trying to memorialize somebody through a gift, our last giving form had that information way at the bottom and we couldn't customize it. With this form, we put it right up on the top, who is this for, and it makes somebody that much more comfortable that their gift is going to be properly attributed to who they want it to be for, how they want it to be spent by the organization in terms of the different funds they could choose from. And now you can say, all right, I will go ahead and memorialize my dad at, $20 a month by doing this versus, I think it went through, I'm not sure. So really using the forms intelligently to make your donor feel more comfortable that their gift is going where they direct it, I think has helped us as well.
That's a fantastic, I think, piece of insight. And again, you have so much great stuff here to share with us, Miko, and wish we could keep talking here for another hour. That said, unfortunately, we have to move on to our next speaker. And again, everyone, anyone who is having any issues seeing the screen, you may want to try re-logging in, but we will be sending out a link to the recorded version. So you won't miss anything, and it will include the chat, so you can go back and review other questions and information that's been shared. And Lisa from Operation Finally Home has been great in answering questions in chat and providing her contact information. So definitely, everyone, I encourage you to take advantage of all of these great resources. So Miko and Doreen, thanks to you. Stand by if you can for our Q&A coming up shortly. And everyone that does have specific questions for the two of them, prepare those, send them into chat. And now I'd love to introduce our next speaker. Is Elizabeth Zaccara, who's the executive director of Big Fluffy Dog Rescue. She's been with them for many years, and she is the former executive director of Big Fluffy Dog Rescue, who's been a principal in growing that organization, which has become incredible. If you haven't all seen some of their fantastic stuff, I'd encourage you to do so. Anyone that loves anything fluffy, I would encourage you to check it out because it's fantastic in terms of content and everything that they're doing. So welcome, Elizabeth. Thanks for joining us.
Hi. Thanks for having me and such a nice introduction. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Well, yeah, tell us a little bit about, the background, maybe the history of the organization, where you've come with it and, where it is now in terms of recurring giving.
Okay. So we're probably on the complete opposite end of the spectrum of the last two speakers. With MTPF, we are newer. Our donors are young. Everything is predominantly done online. We are a 501c3 dog rescue, and we're based out of Nashville, and we save giant breed dogs from euthanasia, from kill shelters. And when we started probably 7 years ago, we started, I think our first year we saved 300 dogs. Last year we saved about 2,000 from euthanasia and put them in homes. We're a foster-based rescue. And really we came around and we were able to grow as much as we could with the advent of Facebook and really its popularity. So with us, we do have this unique kind of online community. We've got close to 700,000 followers on Facebook, around 40,000 on Instagram, which is, growing really big. And for us, we're not professional fundraisers. So for anybody listening, we were founded by a lawyer, and I'm a biologist by trade. And so we kind of grew from there, and we've just been ourselves. We talked about being, we tell individual stories, and we try to tell compelling things about our dogs. And I think that is our biggest success. So we signed up with Mobile Cause it's almost been a year now, and it has been huge for us. We raised about almost $340,000 using it. We've got a good amount of reoccurring donations. Our smallest one I went and checked is $3 a month, which is awesome, and our largest one is $100 a month. So we're really still speaking individually to people. So that's kind of who we are and what we've done.
And that's a great introduction. And I think, maybe we can dive a little bit into the idea of, creating compelling content and your ability to build this community. And so talk to us a little bit about what, you felt has been, this kind of content and how you've gone about building this community.
Okay, so for us, we just try to be ourselves. I think that is the biggest, most important thing. We're definitely not the Humane Society with like the sad commercials and everything like that, which seems to work for them. But for us, we're a little silly, we're a little snarky, and we really tell it like it is. For anyone who's been in animal rescue, there's a lot of tragedy, and it invokes all sorts of emotion. It invokes anger and hurt and all these other things, but it also, by telling that story, compels people to help us help these dogs, and we are able to follow up with Mobile Cause, which has been nice with the texting. We have Transformation Tuesday, so every Tuesday we send a text out to anyone who has subscribed to us, which we're not asking for money, we're not asking for anything. All we send them is a before and after picture. So a lot of these people know our dogs by name. They know Bo, they know Billy, they know all these things, and so they're able to see what we've done with the funds that they've given. So that's one of our biggest things that we've really liked with Mobile Cause so far.
And here's kind of a tactical question, but it just brought it up, and I've seen in chat, and others have asked it. Is just sort of how do you go about getting the phone numbers? So do you have any thoughts around that? And how did you go about getting the phone numbers so you can, SMS them?
So for us, like I said, we have about 700,000 people on our Facebook page. That is our first, I guess, point of contact, right? We'll put up a picture, we will tell our story, and we'll ask people for donations for what the dog needs. And we're pretty specific in what we need for the dogs, whether it's orthopedic surgery or all sorts of things like that. We're specific in what we need, and we put up our link, the personalized. Okay, I just noticed on the slide you changed it. But some of the personalized link, we'll put that up, people will click, and they can choose to subscribe. And we've got a huge base of people, both in our general funds and special needs funds, that really follow us. So we've gotten all of those phone numbers that way. We've also got a lot of people who signed up recently we use the crowdfunding option, which I loved, and we got a lot of new donors that way. And these are people who signed up to be fundraisers.
Wonderful. Did we just lose you? We may have lost Elizabeth. She may have had an internet connection or dropped momentarily.
I can hear you guys.
Oh, okay.
Chris,
oh, good. Yes.
Are you there? Okay.
So anyway, I think that was fantastic. And so then, in terms of so you love the crowdfunding, and so maybe you can talk a little bit about that, even though this is obviously about recurring giving, but just so everyone has some clarity on the ability that you've been able to recruit fundraisers, individual fundraisers that have been able to drive donations. Maybe just tell us a little bit about that if you could.
The crowdfunding was awesome. We did a campaign called Love BFDR, and we think that most of the people who have followed us, they have their own story. I have my own story. I could tell you about why I love this rescue, and I found that so many other people did. So we asked them to, we did text Love BFDR to 41444, and all these people signed up, and so they shared their story and their friends, and they were able to customize their fundraising page, and each of them set a goal for $500. And it was a beautiful way for other people to tell a story. We didn't have to ask for donations, and their friends and family were able to see on social media what they liked about us. So and so many people, we actually gained a ton of followers to our main Facebook page and our Instagram account that way, because people came to check us out, and they wanted to learn more about us, who we are, and everything like that. So I noticed one of the comments, fundraising for cute puppies is awesome, but if you go and visit our page, we definitely have a lot of special needs cases. Because we're able to fundraise, we actually are really able to help a lot of dogs that other organizations aren't able to take on, gunshot wounds and train wrecks and, double orthopedic surgeries. So because of that, we've been able to really make a big difference.
And I think it can't go, without repeating again, so again, tell us sort of your approach to content and how you sort of framed all of these stories. I mean, is there sort of a model that you're following every time, or, how have you kind of sort of approached, how you've presented these sort of even sometimes tragic cases? How have you handled that?
I think that we try to keep a balance. Because the reality is rescue is heartbreaking, and I could tell you we could tell a heartbreaking story every single day. We could tell you something terrible that happened every day. So we talk about our bigger cases, and then we also balance them with, better things that are going on, the cute puppies, to kind of balance it out, because I think that is how we are able to keep people following us. If it's always sad all the time, it's not going to work. And then for the recurring donations, we use that as an option every time we do a fundraiser, and that's actually how we've gotten people to sign up. They didn't even know it was possible, so people will just click on recurring donation. So that's kind of what we've done there.
And so for those that are listening, in terms of like leveraging the technology and that are figuring out like how do they add some of these new things into what they've already been doing, and there may be trepidation for various reasons, whether it's convincing the board or they're concerned about the age of their donors or just how much time it'll take them. Do you have any comments on any of those concerns that anyone might have and how they might be able to get the most out of something like MobileCause?
For MobileCause was really easy for us because we're an online community. It was easy to translate into using it. You don't have to be tech savvy. Most of our volunteers are not overly tech savvy, and they were able to navigate it in a really easy and quick way. If you can download a picture, you can get a campaign running. So I think for us, it was the ease of it. Our board, this is actually the first amount of money that we started using on fundraising, and it was really successful for us. Our board was happy to do it, and I think it was an easy transition, not just for us, but for our donors, since they're already, they're not coming to a physical facility. They're not coming to necessarily these giant events. They're already on their phones. They're already looking at us on their computer, so it was just kind of an easy next step.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth, for your time, and I'm going to transition quickly into the next segment because we are getting closer to the top of the hour. And so I wanted to kind of get back into our Q&A here because we have a lot of amazing questions that have come in. And so again, everyone, if you do have questions, feel free to type them now into the chat. We will again be sharing a link via email to all of you. With the presentation that you can download along with the link to watch, view, and share. So yes, if there's colleagues that you have that you'd love to share this with, please do. We'd encourage all of you to do so. We've of course encouraged all of you to interact directly with MobileCause. We are here to help answer any specific questions that you may have. So please do keep submitting all of those. So first up, I'd like to get back to Lisa. You've been terrific, answering a lot of questions. And, one of these that comes up a lot is in terms of, what would you say to people that maybe have a list or a database that's maybe of donors that's a little bit smaller than what they would really like it to be and feel like, gee, do I have a large enough list to really make this worthwhile? Any thoughts around that?
Could you repeat that, just the very end of that, Chris? I lost you for a second.
Yeah, so the question is really about, those folks that maybe feel like their database or they don't have a large enough donor, contact list and are concerned about, how do I get the most out of this? Do I have enough people? And, so what's the best way to really grow my donor base and grow my list?
Yeah, well, I think for all of us on this panel, we have very different audiences. We were very immature in the social media realm. We're up against the giant that everyone knows of that does commercials and spends multiple millions of dollars a year for veteran assistance. So ours is definitely more grassroots, and it's more of on my shoulders, trying to get those people who give to a specific build and interact with them. That's one aspect of it. The other that a couple people have asked about is our direct mail program. So I'm able to get people from the direct mail giving side and transfer them over into the Operation Finally Home side. I am working with our direct mail vendor now to begin to incorporate some different messaging in our letters, but also the opportunity to see when people give to direct mail, what is my opportunity to cross them over to our side of the fence, so to speak. And one of the things we do that helps that is making those phone calls from the board members and from myself. And we have had a fairly good success. Now, I haven't run the numbers on that. I need to do that. But I've seen, 25 people in the fall that went from being on the direct mail program to coming and becoming a recurring donor for us. So I think that's a worthwhile tactic. Direct mail is definitely still alive and well. It's a necessity for us because it is able to get to donors that we couldn't get to otherwise. But I think you have to do a little bit on each platform of social media, direct mail, online, through your website, through your newsletters. I think you just have to have a strategy that looks at all of those, and then depending on your time and your resources, make the effort to test and see what gets your responses. What do people respond to that you're trying to do? There's not one magic cure, obviously, or we'd all be doing it, right?
Right. Fantastic. And now to you, Miko, in terms of, what do you think is sort of the compelling sort of call to action? How have you best sort of promoted recurring giving in and of itself? What have you found is sort of the message that's really, helped you to do that and to make the benefits of that clear to a donor? And we may have lost Miko. Can you all hear me? Doreen, are you still with us?
Yes, Doreen is here. That is a particular question to Miko, but we are revamping a recurring donor program. That is something that we're going to roll out. What our initial phase of when moving to Mobile Cause was to try to get all of the diverse avenues that gifts were coming in and kind of funnel them into Mobile Cause. Phase 2 being a dedicated recurring donor campaign, and that's what's still in the works. So that's the goal of what we're working towards. But at first, it was just to try to get the conduit for the funds with Mobile Cause, get that established firmly, get everyone that we already had on there, and then grow it from there. So that's the plan.
Fantastic. And in terms of communicating that, what types of questions, did you get most commonly about people, were people just, questioning just, and how did you address those, I guess, what were the biggest questions that you had in terms of this transition and, how did you handle it?
You mean in terms of using Mobile Cause?
Yeah, in terms of how, because you're really moving them from one way to a whole new way.
Yes, and I think it does have to do generationally. You can't make a broad assumption that older folks won't use Mobile Cause because they will. And so you have to give them that opportunity. But sometimes that is a concern, especially with all the credit card and breaches and things. Folks are concerned about using their credit cards. But ironically, they will give it to me to set it up because somehow they feel safer with me handling it, even though I'm doing exactly what they would do if they went online. But you just offer them that level of comfort and someone to contact if they ever feel that something looks out of sorts or it wasn't on the day they wanted it to be, their recurring donation was not happening on the day they wanted it, or their credit card changes. If they just have somebody that they can reach out to that they feel is handling their situation personally, it gives them that sense of confidence. And so that's what we struggled to do, or we were striving to do, was to give them me as a direct contact, so they didn't feel like they were going to an 800 number and they didn't know who they were giving their information to. So that was how we sort of allayed those fears.
Right, fantastic. And again, just to address a couple of the questions that have come in here, yes, the recorded version of the webinar will include the chat box, so you'll be able to go in and get some of the great information, contact information, et cetera, that's been shared within chat, so you won't lose any of that. Also, again, feel free to contact us at MobileCause, because we, of course, are, collecting all of these resources. We have a tremendous amount of resources. You can learn more at mobilecause.com/resources. We've got a lot of great guides. We've got all of these previous webinars available. There's a lot of fantastic information there. And of course, our team, customer success, is phenomenal, and part of it's really an ongoing partnership once you start working with MobileCause. So I saw personally a couple of comments in there about some of the other, mail providers, email providers that have been listed in terms of, non-existent customer support. That's the exact opposite of what you would get with MobileCause. We're a constant partner that's really an extension of your team. So now the last question here, or at least next question here, we'll go a couple of minutes over because we got a lot of good questions I want to get to. But back to you, Elizabeth. In terms of frequency, here's the question about frequency of communication. Did you have any sense, or how did you figure out, like, how often do you, message? How often do you, ask people to give? Is there any sort of sense, and recommendations on those that may be, concerned about asking too often, and how do they intermingle it with other content? Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, so what we did is we started off on a weekly basis for the texting, not asking for donations, which was giving updates and everything like that. We actually have a private Facebook group, and we polled everybody as to, what do you guys want to see, what don't you want to see, and what's just annoying. Because we don't want to, there's some groups that I've been a part of where you're getting texts every single day, and it was a little much. So for us, we found weekly was good. For the texting, not asking to donate, just to update. And then for our main page thing on Facebook, we linked to MobileCause, again, for special case fundraising, special needs fundraising. And those are on an as-needed basis. So.
Fantastic. And now here's a question for Jeremy. Jeremy, love to get your thoughts on, again, what you've seen in the hundreds and hundreds of individual organizations that have been using MobileCause over the years, and, how they've used recurring giving, and, any sort of top tips that you want to share with everybody that sort of hasn't been covered so far on recurring giving, and how they might get the most out of MobileCause.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Chris. I would say that the most important thing is that your team has a very clear strategy on what you're trying to accomplish, and then do a great job and take the time to really tell your story of what those recurring gifts are going to accomplish, and make it exclusive. I, as a professional fundraiser, created a recurring gift program called Team 84, which I had my most important, most passionate supporters donate $84 a month, which is $1,000 a year. And I gave them all T-shirts that had Team 84 and hats, and it's amazing. People are still wearing those. You want to make it so that being a recurring donor is that. I once had a Team 84 member say, "Man, there is no greater thing that I like coming off my credit card than my donation to you." And that's what you want. And the way that you get there is by telling your story and getting your story across dynamically, with video, with text, with email, with all the different channels, so that all your recurring donors know how incredibly important their giving is.
Fantastic. And now, we've come to the end of our session. I want to thank all of our terrific speakers. Elizabeth, Lisa, Nico, Doreen, thank you all for attending today and sharing all of your thoughts, your insights, answering questions in the chat. I want to thank everyone for attending today. Again, we will be sending out a link to view and download the presentation, watch the webinar. I encourage you to share it with all of your colleagues and take advantage of all the resources that we've made available today. Please do stay tuned for future webinars. We'll be doing these monthly on new topics. If you do have specific topics of interest, we'd love to hear from you. You can visit us at www.mobilecause.com/demo to see firsthand exactly how MobileCause works for you, how it looks, how it works, how you can use it specifically, integrations. There's a lot of questions around that. You can also call us directly at 888-661-8804. Thank you again to everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.